Verse 6 says, "He who regards one day as special does so to the Lord. He who eats meat eats to the Lord, for he gives thanks to God. And he who abstains does so to the Lord and gives thanks to Yahweh." Now, here's what's interesting, is that if you look at this from a very careful point of view, you're going to see the very beginning of Romans chapter 14 is all about food, interestingly enough. It says, to he who is a strong believer, he decides that he can eat meat that's offered to idols, and he who is weak in the faith only eats vegetables because he's not sure if the meat is coming from the sacrificial system or not, from the pagans. So that whole context of food is carried down through Romans chapter 14, and we get to an interesting verse that I want you to read a different way. I want you to read it as if the entire context is exactly what it is, all about food. Let's read it again. "One man considers one day more sacred than another. Another man considers every day alike. Each one should be fully convinced in his own mind. He who regards that day as special does so to the Lord. He who eats to the Lord." Now, think about this, what I just said. He who considers one day special, let him do to the Lord. And he who eats, which is saying that the one that says that this day is special is not eating. And a matter of fact, history bears this out. We know that there was a huge debate in the first century about fasting and which day to fast on. You had some groups that fasted on one day and another group that fasted on another day. And so in the midst of the topic of whether or not it's okay to eat animals that have been sacrificed to idols, and how does that work out and play out when you go over to somebody's house to eat and you don't know where the meat came from, as long as it's clean. It's not saying that you can eat unclean animals. It's talking about a meat sacrificed to idols. In the same context of talking about food, does it not make sense that he would address fasting? And he says, listen, guys, you guys keep getting focused on, you're making mountains out of molehills. If you think that Tuesday is okay to fast, and you think it's Thursday, you each consider whatever day. The scriptures do not tell us which day to fast. So you eat meat on this day, you don't eat meat on this day. It's completely up to you. Certainly, Paul the Apostle is not advocating that anyone can choose any day that you want. And the proof of this is this, that this interpretation is correct, is that Paul would have been strung up by his heels if he was telling all of the people that you can break the Sabbath. They had already brought him and drug him into the courts on false accusations earlier in Romans and in Acts, and now we are led to believe that he is advocating clearly breaking the most staple law of all of Judaism, and no one even bats an eye. There's no debate. There's no first century historians that are telling us that there was a huge debate or anything like that. No, there was no debate, because that's not what Paul meant, and his readers and his listeners knew that. Come and join us as we travel back in time 4,000 years ago to discover exactly where the holidays of Christmas, Easter, and even Valentine's Day come from. Why do we celebrate the birth of Jesus on December 25th? Whose birthday really is on December 25th? Where did we come up with December 25th? Where did the star on top of the Christmas tree come from? Where did the Christmas tree itself come from? Where did St. Nicholas come from? Are we sure that St. Nicholas even existed? Have you ever wondered where the famous phrase, ho, 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 comes from? It comes from the late 1600s, when they used to have plays, and before the devil would come on stage, he would announce himself by saying, ho, ho, ho. Did you know that original Santa's elves weren't little guys that made toys? They were Krampus demons that would punish the children if they weren't good for that year, while St. Nicholas would give them gifts if they were good. Who is the Easter Bunny? Where do we get Easter eggs from? Why do we celebrate Easter on the first Sunday after the vernal equinox? Did you know that Christmas was illegal in the United States until the mid-1800s? Can we celebrate these holidays according to the Bible? This is by far the most popular video on the internet on the history of Christmas and Easter. This video has changed hundreds of thousands of people's lives, and it will change your life too.